We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love, we adore, we are passionate about everything in college football, and that includes the Football Power Index from ESPN. We cover everything. And if you love everything in college football, if you need just a little bit of extra college football content to get you through the days, to get you through the nights, subscribe to our ever-growing channel. Smash that like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. Come on in. Don't be afraid. Coming into the house that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kirk Gowdy Avenue. Live show tonight. We didn't know when we were going to come on, so I couldn't give you the time. You always have to keep your head on a swivel if you're part of the PATC community. We warned everybody last night of a Arizona State Money Perch most recent email. We like to say letter. Most recent email given to us. It was April 15th. We had to cut out a little bit of stuff. We released it today. We're going to be going through it. We did an episode 193, a quick little episode. You can go back after this live show, and review it. But we're going to be breaking it down. Received a lot of mixed reactions to it. I got to say that this information, pretty solid. Pretty solid. Now, here at Peek Around the Corner, we love it when people disagree with each other. So if you disagree with the Arizona State Money Perch, if you disagree that Peek Around the Corner should have ever released this last letter, let me know in a comment. Give us a phone call later on in the show when we open up the phone line, 763-260-1333. Let me know. Let me have it. But some really good information in there. I'm going to say this before we get to our sponsor of tonight's show. And before we really delve into the letter, I think what the primary thing that the Arizona State Money Perch is trying to tell us is, or what they perceive at Arizona State and probably Arizona, probably Colorado, is the following. Things are not going to get better for the Pac-12. During these media negotiations, they're not going to get better. But they're not going to get any worse either. They've hit the bottom. And that is why there's not too much time left to go on this saga, according to the Arizona State Money Perch. I know that flies against what a lot of reports out there are saying. It flies against what even Arizona President Robbins said in public. I get it. But I made the decision to release that letter because there's some really good information that we have backing it up. It's about institutional support. That's the last phase. So we're going to do a deep dive into that. I appreciate you all coming in. Big Jack, Dale Donuts, Gerald Jones, Mr. Buckeye, Two Master, Kyle Visser, the Evil Badger, Jeff Olson is in the house. Robert Muffett, Curtis Brown, Ducky, Mr. Duck, Lewis, Carlos Diaz, the Aztec, he's in the house. Bruce Harris, thanks for all coming. I appreciate it. We'll get to your comments and then we'll get to your phone calls. First, we got to get through the monologue. But first, and most important, of course, is our special sponsor for tonight's show. Welcome to Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters. We invite you to discover the Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters difference. Clean hot air, roasted coffee produces a smoother, richer, healthier coffee that is less bitter and less acidic. Our hot air roasted coffee uses convection heat to loft the beans for a very even heat transfer. The clean, bright taste that people rave about is achieved by roasting the bean quickly and evenly while suspended on a bed of hot air. From craft to cup, hand-picked coffee beans, the smoothest coffee that the little general, the wife, the moderator of this show that rules with an iron fist, the smoothest coffee she has ever had. Give this a try. There's a link provided in the description below. And if you want to support this channel, when you buy your fantastic bag of beans at Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters, if you want to support this show, just put PATC in the comments section. And we thank you so very much. And of course, go visit our merch store. There's also a link provided in the description below. PATC official mug. It's a hot seller. So is that trucker hat. We're going to be coming out with t-shirts pretty soon. So the t-shirts with our new live show logo. Pretty funny stuff. And again, when you have that Cloak and Dagger mug, pay attention to the rules in the chat room when you use that mug. Okay, first of all, we're going to go through that football power index real quick. Then we're going to go to the AC letter. And then we're going to get to your comments and to your phone calls. FPI, I saw some more interesting stuff. I only went to the top 25 on the list. Again, college football's FPI release, top tier, conference races, and playoff hopes. I'm not going to go through the article. I just want to go through those top 25 again. Also, schools outside the top 25. Some pretty interesting stuff. Again, It has the Buckeyes, the number one team in the country, 35% chance of winning the national title. Alabama at 20%, Georgia at 19%. It goes through how this methodology, how it works, the models. In the preseason model, it relies on past performances on offense and defense, returning and transfer production, and past recruiting data for players on the roster to form a rating. Then we use those ratings to simulate the season 20,000 times, resulting in our projections. And of course, you got North Carolina, Oregon State, Baylor, Texas Tech, Washington, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21. And the power rankings have Wisconsin at 20, Texas A&M and Florida tied at 18. And as I commented on the episode 193, Florida Gators, 18th. Again, having to do with the model, preseason model, but my goodness. The Gators were 6-6 last year, got blown out in a bowl game. They're not going to make it to 6-6 this year. There's no way, not with that offense. The Florida Gators are in trouble. TCU 17, I thought they'd be ranked a little higher, even with this model. Ole Miss 16, Utah 15, the two-time defending Pac-12 champions. Florida State at 13. Woo! Of course, here at PATC, we haven't released our way too early top 25. We're getting close. I tell you, Florida State, I got them about 5 or 4. I love the Seminoles this year. Holy smokes, they are ready to go. Oregon, 13, along with Florida State. In this model, Tennessee is 12, Oklahoma 11. Penn State cracks the top 10. Notre Dame is 9, Clemson 8. The Trojans are 7. Michigan 6. I thought for sure they'd be in the top 5. With all those players coming back, with all that production coming back, Texas number 5, LSU number 4. And of course we have Georgia, Alabama, and the Buckeyes. And in the article, it says those 3, there's a clear gap between those 3 and everybody else. I don't have the Buckeyes as high as other people do. I watched the we had a watch party for the Ohio State Buckeyes spring football game. Kyle McCord got hot late. He threw some really good passes late in that spring football game. But that offensive line for the Buckeyes, is it going to be good enough? Do they have 5 starters, especially at center and at tackle? Do they have it? Do they have a good enough offensive line to win the Big Ten and then to go on to win the national championship? Of course, you all know we have the Penn State Nittany Lions to win it, the Big Ten this year. Not many people agree with us. That's okay. We're going from Greg the Cooler in 2022 to Greg the Heater in 2023. Mark my words, ladies and gentlemen. Penn State. Okay, we also watched the Penn State spring game. We did not have a watch party. Drew Alley was a little more inconsistent than I was expecting. A lot of inaccurate throws early in that game, but they got a lot of players. I'm still on them. I'm still on them. We'll wait to see what happens in August. We'll do another prediction, but our way too early predictions segment that we did previous this year, early spring, winter time. We had Penn State winning the Big Ten. We had Washington winning the Pac-12. We had Texas winning the Big 12. Quinn Ewers has locked down QB1. We have Georgia winning the SEC. And we have Washington winning the Pac-12. Okay. So let's get to the Arizona State Money Perch letter. And then we'll get to your comments and phone calls. Now, this was sent to us at 8:15 a.m. on April 15th. I don't know. I don't know if it's 8:15 Central or 8:15 Pacific time. It doesn't matter. But it was sent to us in the morning, April 15th. We finally, I saw it a couple days ago. I teased it last night. We were able to release it this morning, and we're going to be talking about it in the live show tonight. We're going to break it down. Again, I get back to what I said at the beginning of the live show. I think what this letter is primarily telling us is the following. Things are not going to get better for the Pac-12. Things are not going to get worse for the Pac-12. It's pretty bad right now. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. From the time in February 24th at Peek Around the Corner when we finally had to flip the odds here at Peek Around the Corner to say there's more of a chance that more schools in the Pac-12 would get poached than those 10 schools staying together. A slightly favorite chalk is more poaching. Nothing has changed from February 24th. The 10 schools want to stay together. We've gone through all the reasons why, but they might feel that they're forced not to be able to stay together. We've talked about all of that. This is basically saying things are not going to get better. The deals aren't going to come in better. Things are not going to suddenly get rosier for the Pac-12. But they're not going to get any worse either. They bottom out. So now is the time for choosing. Now, can they get institutional support to make the move to the Big 12? We're mainly talking Arizona State, Arizona, and Colorado. They're gathering up the information. They're gathering up where they sit when it comes to institutional support, which can mean a whole spectrum of different subjects when we're talking about institutional support. Let me read the letter. I'll give you more thoughts on it. Then this live show is about your thoughts on it, your comments, your calls. That's why we're doing this live show, because we covered this letter in our episode this morning. But this show is about you, the college football, passionate football fan. So we're going to get to your comments and phone calls. Here's the letter. This is from the Arizona State Money Perch. Released today, sent to us on the 15th, April 15th. I feel less stress, and blank, we can't give out the name, doesn't seem to be stressed out anymore. A month ago, it hit everybody hard, but now everyone is just dealing with the facts. We don't know how the media deal will look like. I don't think anyone could possibly know at this date and time, but we do know generally the level of revenue and exposure we will receive for next 5 years. He repeats this 5 years a few more times in the letter. So the Arizona State Money Perch, it seems that he has information saying that when this deal gets done or when they get an offer to the Pac-12 presidents, it will be a 5-year deal. That's what it sounds like from this letter. That's all I can say. He says 5 years, number of times. Okay, but we do know generally the level of revenue and exposure we will receive for next 5 years. And it's not a sustainable level for our athletic department. The level is known. The details are completely unknown. The details who our media partners will be for the next 5 years is completely unknown. The details have become unimportant, as crazy as it would sound to anyone outside these walls. The only detail of importance is ESPN. We need to have them as a partner in some capacity because we need them to talk about us no matter where they prioritize us every week. The other details have declined in importance. It doesn't matter if we have 20 football games on USA Network or 14 on the CW while putting another 29 games on Apple TV. He was just putting that out as an example. No insight. He doesn't know if that's, he's just putting out an example. It doesn't matter if we have 20 football games on USA Network, or let's say 14 on the CW, while putting 29 games, another 29 games on Apple TV. Doesn't matter. The details do not matter anymore, except for that ESPN part. They have to be a partner. If all schools remain throughout the spring, all schools will end up signing whatever George Kliavkoff puts together. Kliavkoff will put a deal together, and it's going to be subpar. We know the level. The level is unsustainable. Besides the ESPN the level is not sustainable. Besides the ESPN component, all the other stuff has turned into noise. And he has used that phrase before. Next part of the article. Again, I can't read you the whole article, so some of this sounds a little clumsy, but doing the best we can to give you the best information as soon as possible here at Peek Around the Corner. Why would any school sign an unsustainable offer is quite easy to understand if you are living this every day. If you are a school with no options, without it being your choice that you have no other options, you agree to the Pac-12 deal. If you are a school with no options because a combination of your choices and other outside choices, you also agree to the Pac-12 deal. If you are a school with options on paper but can't gain enough institutional support to make realignment move to the Big 12, you agree to the Pac-12 deal. So he's explaining why the Arizona State money purchase, explaining why schools will sign this Pac-12 deal, subpar deal in his words, this unsustainable deal in his words, and he gives those reasons why that would happen. Back to the article. This will surprise people because schools with options to realign themselves with the Big 12 don't need much more time to know if they can gather enough institutional support to press forward. Institutional support can mean a vast array of different items depending on the school. Board of Regents, boosters, and key alumni, throw in longtime athletic department sponsors in the community. Do you have the support to exercise your option? If you do you take the decision to move to the Big 12? Time is needed to determine the answers to these questions, but I've been told we are at the last phase, and that's the name of our show tonight. We're in the last phase of figuring out if these schools have the support, if the president, the leadership has the support to move to the Big 12 if they decide to do so. This is what this last phase, this is what this last part is all about. And it doesn't seem that they need much more time. They need more time, so we don't expect anything to happen tomorrow, the next day, the next day, the next day. But we're getting to that point, and that's why we put out the dates that we did today. We'll do it again tonight, the timeline. Back to the article. Going to repeat this. Time is needed to determine the answers to these questions, but I've been told we are at last phase. Arizona schools are gathering up information needed to make their move. The process to move is becoming clear. They're figuring out if they decide to do it, if they get institutional support, enough of it, this is the process that it takes to move. Not much more can be ascertained after middle of May. Arizona State has an option available if they do not want to take the unsustainable media deal with the Pac-12. So, this Arizona State money perch. Now, maybe you think Arizona State doesn't have an option with the Big 12. Maybe you believe the Arizona State money perch is too close to the situation, too heavily biased. He believes Arizona State maybe has more value than they do. Whatever your opinion is, I'm just telling you what he believes from what he has heard. And I only can tell you he's been dead on in this story since January 31st. And for years, he's been dead on with information he has given us to us at Flug Empire when it regards Arizona State. So take it however you want. But he is saying Arizona State has option available if they do not want to take the unsustainable media deal with the Pac-12. They're working on that institutional support, but there is an option out there if they can get all the other stuff done. That's what he's saying. Okay? We will know if we have support needed to make the move here real soon. So he's talking about Arizona State. We have Peek around the corner, and I've always said this. We have information, BTM and his associates, and the sources are growing here at Peek around the corner, but we are limited. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, Peek around the corner, we are limited. We don't have a source at Colorado. We don't have a money perch. If we did, if the information was good, if we trusted it, I would release it to you all, but we don't have it. Okay? So he's talking here. We will know if we have support needed to make a move here real soon. That's Arizona State. We believe, this is him talking, we believe Arizona is on the same exact path. Colorado is probably where we're at, but I'm less sure. This is from Arizona State Money Perch. Back to the letter. First 2 weeks of May is the time where everything that is needed to make a decision will be at our disposal. More time does nothing. They don't need more time. It can get to the point where everything is satisfied now. Did they get the institutional support? Is the president willing to pull the trigger? Big 12 is sitting there with his invitation, supposedly, according to the Arizona State Money Perch. They do have that option. More time does nothing. Going into June does nothing for Arizona State. It doesn't give them more information. I know that sounds odd. We'll get to it again after I'm done with the letter. More time does nothing. We may know the finer details of the media deal in early June, but we know the most important detail right now, and that it's unsustainable. Whatever they get. Media networks have already spoken. Now, I believe we've used that phrase over and over again at Peek Around the Corner. I know other people have as well. Media networks have already spoken. Maybe the Money Perch guy used that already in one of his previous letters. Media networks have already spoken. The deal will be unsustainable. Who wants to be a part of Athletic Conference who will be falling behind not only the SEC, ACC, and the Big Ten, but behind the Big 12 for the next 5 years? Now, he threw some other words in there that I cannot say, or I choose not to say, in a family-friended YouTube channel. We're not going to use some of the words that he put in the letter. You can imagine what they were. In other words, they don't want to fall behind the Big 12 for the next 5 years. Year in, year out for the next 5 years. They don't want to be part of that conference. Leadership at Arizona State, back to the letter, leadership at Arizona State, Arizona, Colorado are now gauging support for realigning their schools. This has been going on for a while, and we are in the last phase. Arizona State's in the last phase. As he said early in the letter, he believes Arizona is at the same part of the path that they are in. They believe Colorado is as well, but they are less sure about Colorado. This is Arizona State Money Perch. The more I discuss this, again, this gets a little clumsy because I had to not use some words and a name here and there, so I'm doing the best I can. The more I discuss this with other people, the more convinced we all become that there is no reason, if any of the Arizona State, and Colorado decide to leave the Pac-12, if they receive enough institutional support, they push it out past the middle of May. And it's clumsy because I have to eliminate so many words and a few names. But what he's saying is the people that he's talks with, especially recently, he gave this letter to us on April 15th. If Arizona State, Colorado, if they receive the support they need from whoever they need it from, if they really need that vote in the border region, so if they really need that key alumni or that key booster or boosters, whatever, the faculty, whatever it is that they need for institutional support to possibly realign, if they receive it, if they feel that they received it, then there's no reason to push it out past the middle of May. Now, I can hear people yelling at me right now saying, well, they don't even have their Pac-12 media deal. They don't know what it is. Robin says he's not bolting. Arizona's not bolting until they see the deal first, the Pac-12. I get it. Just telling you what Arizona State Money Perch is saying. Back to the letter. First half of May. If you're going to do it, no more time is needed. Work is almost done. If support is not there, we take on water, Arizona State. We take on water for another 5 years. Hopefully, we are still wanted in another 5 years. So that's the letter. Had to leave out some stuff. Made it a little clumsy. Before I get to your comments, I think most people who listen to the episode, because I got a lot of feedback. A lot of people, I would consider serious people, they understand. They understand why the Arizona State Money Perch is saying this, why he perceives this. They get it. They get it because once the pathway is clear that you can actually make the move, then why wait? If you are somebody who believes that a Pac-12 media deal could get better, they may receive a deal down the road that could be just as good as the Big 12. I understand that too, but from the perspective of Arizona State and from Arizona and Colorado, but from Arizona State, because we know they were upset in that January 30th meeting. We reported that in January 31st. If they're upset that long ago, and then they saw the actions of previous to that, and in December with California, and potentially California, Oregon, Stanford, Washington moving to the Big 12, when California's Rich Lieb, part of the border region, said to reporters, look, we were putting pressure. We wanted our 4 schools to go to the Big 10. We'd rather be in the Big 10. After hearing that, after hearing how this process is working, after hearing how the networks are basically, in their belief, lowballing that bleep out of you, when you're not getting any love from Fox, when you're not getting any love from ESPN, when you know as Arizona schools that a heavy streaming deal is not going to work for your demographics in your state at this time in 2000. When you pile all that up together, when you stack it up, when you've been lied to, when the expectations, when you were told what to expect, and it hasn't even come close to that, when you haven't seen any comprehensive deal in front of you, and when you are Arizona State and you have reasons to believe, hint, hint, wink, wink, cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger, when you have reasons to believe that you will get the full $31.6 million if you enter into the Big 12, even with Fox Sports putting in, like, they had a pro rata clause in the new Big 12 media deal, which they don't, but you understand? If you're Arizona State and you perceive that to be your number, you know your number. Remember, Arizona President Robbins says, we know what the Big 12 number is. Arizona State knows what their Big 12 number is. Colorado knows what their Big 12 number is. And I'll just say this. For those who believe that'll be less than what Houston will get, that's a bad example. If those who believe that if Arizona State went to the Big 12 and they made less than Baylor, then Oklahoma State, then Kansas State, then West Virginia, be careful. Be careful. So, if you take that, if you don't want to believe that's true, that's fine. But if you take that Arizona State perception and pile on up to everything else we just talked about, now you start to understand. Now you understand why, yes, I guess they don't even need to see whatever deal comes down the pike before they pull the trigger, if that pathway gets cleared. And they're going to get an answer on that pretty soon. Maybe some of these schools have already gotten the answer on it. As these board of regents do all these meetings, as the leadership talks to their boosters, we know that's going on. All right. Enough of me. Enough of this babble talk of me. Let's get to your comments. Let's get to your questions. Let's get to the money Perch has got it all wrong. They first need to see a Pac-12 deal. We shall see. We shall see. That's why, combined with the money Perch letter, combined with information we have received outside of the Arizona State guy, we put the dates of April 28th to May 17th as the hot spot. As the hot spot of action. If one of these schools, get their institutional support and the president pulls the trigger, that is the hot spot. There's no reason to wait longer. Again, I understand a lot of people disagree with us. A lot of people disagree with the Arizona State money Perch, what he is saying, which we decided to release because we believe it's very good intel. So we put those dates. April 28th to May 17th. The last time we put a range of dates out there here at Peek Around the Corner, we said August 15th and October 15th was the decision window of a go or no go for launch for Big Ten further expansion. We got the answer early in October. It was a no-go for further expansion at this time. Consider this the same type of deal. This is the time of action. If you're going to do it, you don't have to wait longer. That's what the Arizona State money Perch is saying. And there's a lot of other steam that is telling us pretty much the same thing. Okay, let's get to your comments. Skull Ducky, what's up, Greg? A lot of stuff is up. To Masta, Cloak and Dagger, Skull Ducky, how's everybody doing? Bruce Harris, Boomer, howdy peeps. From Robert, what's good, everyone? What's good, everyone? Woo, a lot of comments here. I am so far behind. Holy smokes. I got to get caught up here. Can't answer that question, Robert. What schools do you have money Perch contacts at? More than one. Let's just say that. And it's growing. It grew after the USC, the Big Ten story. We'll just leave it at that. Coog's house, Big Jack, thanks for coming in. Joe, thanks for coming in once again. Appreciate it. Dale Donuts, does any of this matter? It's not like the USC talking to the Big Ten. That was a jump. Going to the Big 12 is more of a lateral move. Don't see anyone moving. Okay? Lateral move. People don't usually realign to another conference if they see it as a lateral move. A lot of people agree with Day-Old Donuts. Day-Old Donuts. Sorry for the mispronunciation. Big Jack says he likes the mugs. Secret agent. I'm going to buy one of those mugs. Do it, secret agent. Right here. That's the mug. Look at that. Look at that. Huh? Cloak and Dagger. That beautiful guy on the cup. We're going to be putting out some more new merchandise with the new artwork here pretty soon. Shout out to the moderator, the little general. She rules with an iron fist. Mo envision if the Buckeyes, Ohio State, can get past Notre Dame, they have a chance. What's this talk of Notre Dame? Of Tyler Buchner, he could win the quarterback once, QB1. There's no way they can't give that to Hartman. I shouldn't say give that to Hartman. There's no way that Sam Hartman can't. Of course he's going to be the starting quarterback for the Fighting Irish. This Tyler Buchner hype coming out of spring camp. Yeah, he's a good player. He's been nicked up. He's been nicked up during his college career. So he hasn't been able to show everybody what he can do. But you got Hartman. You got the number one quarterback in the whole transfer portal. And he's not going to start game one. They haven't said that. Marcus Freeman hasn't. But the fans, Notre Dame, the reports, Sampson, others, saying that it's a Buchner-Hartman race and Buchner has shown what he can do and he might win the starting job. Holy smokes. That is a shock to me. I don't know. If Hartman isn't the starter, Marcus Freeman, I love my mug. It sets the tone. Cloak and Dagger, thank you so much, Struthers. Appreciate it. Dale Donuts, I don't see any teams leave the Big 12 unless the Big 10 invites them first. Jonathan Weaver, was last year a fluke or is Illinois football going to be a contender in the Big 10 from now on? We shall see, but they were good last year. That defense was very good last year. Very good last year. Phone lines are not open yet. Give it a time. Give it time. We got to go through some of the comments here. Then we'll get to the phone lines. I'll let you know when they're open. That defense, man. Now, they lost their defensive coordinator. He's the new head coach of Purdue. A lot of changes in the Big Ten West schools. Lots of changes in the coaching staffs. The one place in the Big Ten West that didn't have a lot of changes in the coaching staff is the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Unfortunately, for my beloved Gophers, there's been a lot of changes in the roster because we're getting killed in the transfer portal. But we won't hit that tonight. Monovision, I don't see the Big Ten inviting any Pac team unless the Big 12 takes some first. Skolducky, Greg, you can be the heater on everything, but the Huskies win in the pack. Skolducky believes in Bowl Knicks. Ooh, got to be loyal to Greg. My Huskers are going to surprise everyone and win the Big Ten in football. Not in 2023, but maybe in the near future. I love Coach Rule. I think he's a hell of a coach. Don't know about the quarterback room this year. Don't know about Casey Thompson's durability. And I don't like Jeff Sims. I don't like 30 touchdowns, 23 interceptions. He's going from the ACC to the Big Ten. I think he's going to struggle. But everywhere else, I think the Huskers are getting themselves primed to compete year in and year out. Don't think it's going to happen in 2023. Monovision doesn't like my spring game evaluation of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Sky, Greg, you should do a show on every mistake the Pac-12 has made in the last 15 years. Don't have time for that. Do not have time for that. Larry Pilgrim, Colorado, Arizona State posturing. Mo Envision, USC will take the Pac title this year on their way out the door. We shall see. They got a lot of competition. The Washington Huskies, they are stacked. They're ready to go. Plus, you got some other schools out there ready to compete. Oregon, definitely. So Oregon State, if DJ Ungale is everything what the PATC community believes he is, I don't think he's going to move the needle at Oregon State. But you all do, so we shall see. I shouldn't say you all do. A lot of you do. We'll see what happens. A lot of great competition in the Pac-12 in 2023. Sean Eaton says Oregon's winning the Pac-12. And Larry Pilgrim says Oregon losing to Washington, Utah, and USC. Larry Pilgrim says the money perch didn't say anything we haven't heard for a while. Sky said he said a 5-year deal. It's hard to tell. Is the money perch in favor of leaving for the Big 12 or not? The money perch is definitely in favor. Definitely in favor. Larry Pilgrim says Oregon, Washington said they don't want anything over a 5-year deal months ago. I haven't heard Oregon, Washington say anything, really. They've been quiet. We'll see if that keeps up. We'll see if that keeps up. Wow, lots of great comments. Again, if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel. You'll get notified of our next live show, of our episodes. We can pop up at any time. We popped up tonight here at 7:15 Eastern Time, 6:15 Central Time. We just pop up. So you gotta be subscribed to get notified. Also, follow us at Flug Empire and Twitter. We also sometimes most of the time, we give you all a heads up when our next live show is going to appear. Smash that like button. It helps us with the algorithms of YouTube so very much. So please smash that like button if you like our content. If you want to donate to the show to keep the lights on, help us keep the lights on. We only can do this because of you all. Hit that $sign and we'll get you a comment as fast as possible. And share the video with your family and friends. A lot of people have been sharing our stuff, our content. We thank you so much for doing that. Wow. To Masta, in May the boiling point is reached. Another good way of putting the situation. Grayson Ganoush, if you want to stay open to a future Big Ten invite, it's hard to join a conference with a 99-year gore. It's not really a 99-year gore. It's a 99-year. It's in the bylaws. It's not a 99-year gore. It basically establishes an exit fee. The penalty to leave the Big 12 is a 2-year exit fee plus whatever happens in the grant of rights. It's not really. It's a confusing. It's not a 99-year gore, but I get your point, Grayson Ganoush. I get your point. It's hard. It would be difficult to jump from be more difficult to jump from the Big 12 to the Big 10 in 3 years from now. Don't think that's what Washington and Oregon wants to do. Lewis, does the money perch think that Arizona has the institutional support? I think, now he didn't put it in the letter, but I think he believes they will get it if they haven't received it already. there's a lot. So this has been going on for a while, right? The talks between the Big 12 and the Pac-12 schools, these four corner schools believe they can get a real good. They know what the number is. They believe it's 31.6 million. I think people would be surprised to hear that, but that's what they believe. And now it's about making sure they even can pull the trigger, make sure they have that pathway, make sure everybody's interests are taken care of within their silo, right? Within their community, whoever that is, right? Colorado will have the support, maybe the first to jump. That's Big 12 Patrick. Hagen, they probably know enough. Rene Rocha, number 1, Georgia, 2, Michigan, 3, Texas or Texas Tech, 4, USC, Georgia, 3 Pete. Still not sure who I've got as my Big 12 champ. Well, yeah, Texas or Texas Tech? Texas Tech is sure getting a lot of love. They're getting a lot of love. They got a lot of love from us when we did our way too early Big 12 predictions. I think we had Texas Tech number 3. Number 3, I believe. I'm pretty sure. Kanoosh says linear TV might not even be viable in 2030. Daniel Monacasso is in the house. Big Ten goes across 6 time zones after adding Hawaii and Alaska. MP says, hello, fellow wees. Yes, good way of putting it, MP. We are wees. No question about it. It's we, not me. Nobody won. Conference consolidation helps the networks. Less contracts to manage. More leverage for future negotiations. North End Zone, thanks for coming in. Could the Pac-12 get TV execs to go for a 3-year TV deal? Boy, that'd be tough. I don't. You know, I suppose it's possible, but highly doubtful. Highly doubtful. Highly doubtful. But it's one of those fascinating questions that we're going to get answered here in the next few months whenever we see this TV deal. If we see it, if AAR, UNLV is in play on some realignment message boards. We did an episode on UNLV from an article written in Nevada. I don't think I still have it. But basically, the writer didn't think that UNLV would be a Pac-12 possible expansion candidate. Wild Oot says, open up those phone lines. You got it, Wild Oot. You got it. We have to listen to the people. Here we go. There's a few things I got to take care of here. All right. I believe the lines are open. 763-260. Yes, they are.
Call from
Lewis.
Lewis is in the house. The floor is yours. I can't wait to hear what you've got to say, good sir.
I believe in just reading all the tea leaves and everything for the past 2 or 3 days, and your money perch. Your money perch gave you the answer, Greg, in the last line. He said they hoped that Arizona State could remain relevant in 5 years. So that's an indication to me that he feels that even though a lot of sports fans within the leadership of Arizona State want to move to the Big 12, that the academics, the stuffy academics in the ivory towers are going to win the battle with Colorado, Arizona, and Arizona State, and they're going to choose academics over athletics. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, a lot of schools do that. I mean, I went to Duke. You could argue Duke, if we didn't have the great basketball program, we might have done that. There's no issue with that decision, but that's where it's going. But they won't make a decision because there will be some kind of a deal hammered out for the Pac-12, and the Four Corners schools need leverage because it would only make sense that Oregon and Washington, as the most valuable members of the school, are going to want to try to get unequal revenue sharing and get other concessions, get concessions on being able to leave a grant of rights, all of these things. So these schools need the Big 12 perceived interest in order to play a leverage play. We saw something similar happen back in around 2011, 2012, when there was a lot of talk about Clemson and Florida State going to the Big 12 and the ACC, and they used that leverage for the ACC to choose Louisville over Connecticut in 2012. And I think that's what's happening. I don't believe they want to leave it. So if I'm Brett Yormark, I want to see how good of a poker player he is now. I'd slam the door on expansion. I'd come out. I'd tell the schools you have a week or so. You have until about April 25th, April 30th, the latest, to make a decision, or we're slamming the door. Because the Big 12 isn't getting any more money per school with these additions. It's not like they're game-changer additions. The main goal or the main objective would be to try to establish the Big 12 as a more powerful conference. But the Big 12 will be fine if the Pac-12 truly has this bad of a deal. The Pac-12 has struggled to get anybody in the CFP the last few years. They've not done particularly well in the NCAA tournament. Very few people in the East even pay much attention to the Pac-12 other than the very top games, the top teams. And they're losing USC. So I think that Yormark should slam the door. Let's bring this to a conclusion because it doesn't appear that at the end of the day, the Pac-12 schools can really stomach moving to the Big 12, and that's fine. I understand there's a misfit. The Pac-12 schools fit more with the ACC, but that's a bridge too far to go. So that's where I think it goes. A couple other points. Notre Dame will never join a conference. I keep saying Notre Dame's going to join this conference or that conference, but actually what Notre Dame will do by not joining a conference and by prioritizing academics in their institution in their own way, it'll probably keep the SEC and the Big Ten from ever, in the near future anyway, moving on and having their own playoff. Because you cannot have your own playoff with those two power conferences without Notre Dame involved. And it doesn't seem like Notre Dame will ever join a conference. I would add that. And finally, the last thing, the West Virginia-Penn State game appeared to be inadvertently leaked as to the kickoff time by a Penn State player taking a picture in the football center, as it looks like it's a primetime game at 7:30. So I know that soon we will have the starting times for the weeks 1 through 3. That's always an interesting announcement. That one was inadvertently leaked.
Yeah, that was a September.
That's my call.
Okay, thank you, Louis. Appreciate it.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Yeah, I saw that. That was a 7:30 Eastern time prime time, Penn State, West Virginia. I think that was a September 2nd game. I think it said September 2nd. I don't remember. It looked like it was leaked.
Call from
Ryan Thomas.
Ryan, can you just hold on for 1 second?
Yes, sir.
Hold on 1 second. Thanks for calling. The floor will be yours. Jonathan Weaver, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate your generosity. Thank you so very much. The question is, will Minnesota ever get back to the program it used to be? Playing for the Big Ten National Championships, are those days long gone? Those days have been long gone since the day I was born. So once again, that proves that I am Greg the Cooler. I was born in 1968. That destroyed everything. I was born in Minnesota. I was born with maroon and gold in my heart. And yes, no, they don't have. Look, PJ Fleck, the Minnesota Golden Gophers have won 29 football games. 29 football games in the last 3 full seasons. That, my friends, is an absolute miracle. PJ Fleck is a miracle worker. This state, was it April 18th? We had snow on the ground. We had another snowfall April 16th. We are not a state that is built in this day and age to win Big Ten national championships. Now, of course, PJ Fleck, if he was in the studio, he'd be yelling at me. He'd be saying, row the boat, row the boat. I guess my point is, no, we're not going back to those days. But we still love our Gophers, and we can still surprise people once in a while. But that answers that question. But thank you, Jonathan Weaver, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Ryan Thomas, I apologize. The floor is yours, good sir.
Hey, Greg, it's not a problem. So my firm has a bunch of member firms globally in different countries, and I was on the phone with one of our firms in Canada, and we spent the good part of our talk, or our discussion, talking about hockey. So it was pretty good stuff. We were talking about the Frozen Four, and we were talking about your beloved Gophers.
Yeah.
But this is Peek Around the Corner. This is a college football show, so I'll put my head on a swivel and turn back on topic.
Yes.
But hockey's good stuff, so that's an exception.
And it was devastating. But go ahead.
But I was cheering for your Gophers, though. So it's very clear to me that the Pac-12 presidents, they know what the number is going to be. Now, people can say, do they have a deal in front of them? That doesn't really matter. It's about proposals, and they probably have several proposals and combinations in front of them, and they know approximately what the exposure and the dollar value are going to be. And that basically, to me, it really comes down to 2 questions, and I pointed this out to you on Twitter, but I'm going to point it out for the audience.
Sure, yep. It was a great tweets, by the way, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the first question is, with this TV deal, is it sustainable enough to get those Pac-12 schools by until either the next TV deal or the next round of realignment? They're not going to get a 3-year extension. ESPN is not doing that. It's going to be 5 years minimum. Bob Thompson has said this before in the past, that 3 years is not worth the network's time, and it's not going to really help you in money. So right now they have to decide, is this going to get them by? And if you're Oregon and Washington, is this going to be sufficient for you? If the Big Ten doesn't call in the next couple of weeks, are you going to be able to get by on this? Now, if the answer to that question is no, that leads to question number 2. Is there political support institutionally to make a move? And that's where it gets a little harder, but I also think that's where, you'll see, the president is trying to assuage a lot of concerns and being busy. And I think your timeline and your money Perch, I think, is spot on about the window being now. And the reason why I say that...
Not quite now. April 28th now.
Yeah,
he doesn't believe it can happen now, but we'll see. Maybe... go ahead.
Well, I mean, I believe he said after May something, 15th or something.
No, he says first 2 weeks in May, we peek around the corner. We're putting it at April 28th and May 17th because of other information. But go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And the reason why I say that is people don't think San Diego State has anything to do with this, but they do, because quite frankly, the fact of the matter is they have till June 30th to give the Mountain West notice that they're departing. And if they don't, their exit fee doubles by just, double. So it goes from $15 million to $30 million. And, I don't think San Diego State's going to take a partial share and have to pay $15 million just to make the Pac-12 happy.
Yep.
At that point, if they're going to have to take that kind of financial hit, they're going to just accept what Brett Yormark's going to give them. And believe me, I guarantee you, Yormark would be more than happy to take them.
At a discount. Yep.
Yeah, at a discount, and they'll do it.
Yep.
And I think the Pac-12, if they don't realize that, they're dumb, but I don't think they're that dumb.
I think they do realize that, and I think people need to listen to what Mr. Thomas is saying right here. That is all playing a part in this timeline. Go ahead.
Yeah, and if you back into that, it probably takes about 6 weeks to kind of, paper a TV deal and probably get teams invited and, settle all that stuff. If you look at the time between, Texas and Oklahoma leaving, and also, time between the Big 12 announcing that it was going to, renegotiate for the extension of the time they did it. It's about a 6-week period, so that takes us right to the middle of May, and that's sort of when the point where they either have to at that point, if they haven't sold it, to anybody, then they kind of have to make a drop dead decision and to move forward there.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that's very important.
I'm just saying what you just said is just one other piece of information that we believe to be true. That's why we're putting the date around April 28th to May 17th. If for whatever reason these Pac-12 schools do not have the institutional support or whatever, they have to start moving on the San Diego State piece at some point here in late May.
Exactly.
And that's just one. I can't even get into some other stuff. But that is just one more. That is just one of. There's about 3 more pieces to this story. There is other reasons, not just the Arizona State money purchase separate from other stuff that we have been able to get our hands on. So that is why. And there's other people out there that would agree with us on those dates or real close to those dates, but they don't want to say it or whatever. That's fine. But here at Peek Around the Corner, that's what we do when we think it's viable enough to say it. But yeah, Ryan, you've hit upon one great point that I'm trying not to talk about. Go ahead with the rest of your call.
Well,
Thanks.
I can speculate and provide you plausible deniability with your sources, Greg.
Yeah.
So, but I think the presidents already know whether or not they want to leave or stay, and I think they've got the next bit of time to really sell it to the key stakeholders, whether or not that they want to do that. Now, that meeting with Colorado yesterday on Monday, that wasn't on votes, but right now all these meetings are going on with Colorado and Arizona. I personally think, and it's my opinion, that it's those presidents basically telling these border regions, the people making the votes and making the final decisions, what the options are, and trying to make a decision and get everyone on board and hammer that out. So I think, there are going to be some institutional roadblocks. But I think they've got in my personal opinion, I think they've got the next month to figure that out, to nail that down, and we'll see what happens. But I just think that, if they can't get it done, if they can't do that, then they're just going to bite the bullet, take whatever they can get, and, ride and die, so to say. I also think it's interesting that the Big Ten president starting this week. I don't think that's any coincidence either, because I think in the next month or so, the Big Ten's going to take, they're going to take one last look whether or not they can bring Oregon and Washington in at a discount, whether or not they can get some assurances to all the other schools like Minnesota and Purdue and Illinois about TV issues, and maybe there's a situation where Amazon and Amazon takes half the Pac-12 or half the Oregon and Washington games and limits the rest of the games and anybody else has to be on. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But they've got the next little bit to figure that out. So things are getting really quiet, and when things get really quiet, that's when things are happening. So I think that this is all going to come down, but the stars are lining up, and we're going to have a resolution to this. And I just want to tell you, I 100% agree with your April 28th to May 17th window. That makes perfect sense, given all the pieces that need to fall into place.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens, and I think the dominoes to watch, and they can simultaneously fall. Oregon and Washington are going to, first push and see. They're first going to push and see. If we can't get a big invite, can we get more money? And if they can't get more money, don't be surprised if the Big 12 comes into play as a possibility if there's no Big 10 invite on the table and they can't get unequal revenue sharing, because those two will increase the pie for the Big 12 and probably get those schools, around $40 million, and it might work out for them. So we'll see what happens. I still think that's a long shot, but I think it's a possibility.
Yeah.
So that's my call tonight, Greg. We're gonna see the actual dominoes fall. Keep it up. Go Cougars. Let's hope we avoid a Utah BYU pissing match tonight. But let's go and take care. Bye.
Thank you. Great call. Appreciate it. A couple things. One is Lewis in his earlier phone call brought up the we don't even know about the unequal revenue sharing portion of it. Once they get a Pac-12 deal, now will Oregon and Washington and maybe Utah, whatever, ask for unequal revenue sharing. I'll get to that point in a second.
Call from
Eric.
Eric, nice to call. Thanks for calling. The floor is yours, except give me just one moment to finish a thought. Is that okay?
Well, take your time. I enjoy your thoughts.
Okay. Well, okay. Now, it wasn't in this letter, this April 15th letter. Okay, but it's been previous letters. Okay. Most of these letters, most of the information we have, we can't either say, or it doesn't push the envelope. It's just information that no one would be interested in. But in previous letters, Arizona State Money Perch has said there will not be any unequal revenue sharing. That is a dead thing in the Pac-12. This deal is going to be so low in value, perceived value, that there's no way that an Arizona State, Colorado, Arizona is going to agree to any unequal revenue sharing. So according to the Money Perch, that issue is completely dead. Again, we shall see. Again, Eric, thanks for calling. Thanks for your patience. The floor is yours, good sir.
Hey, how you doing there, Greg?
Good.
First, you know me, I always got to say go Cougs, and when I say go Cougs, I mean the BYU Cougs.
BYU, got it.
Not the Houston Cougs, never, and definitely not the left coast Washington State Cougs. So,
got it. All right.
First, have a couple questions for you, and then I'll make some comments if that's cool.
That's fine.
You saw BYU picked up another big commit after they picked up the linebacker for Utah that Minnesota was going for too. They picked up that huge offensive lineman that started all year last year for Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
The 6'8", 350-pounder.
Yeah.
So I was wondering what you thought about that. I thought Gundy's comments were kind of, thou protest too much. The guy only gave up 1 sack last year, which was among the tops in college football. So I don't think he was beat out. I think that was a little sour grapes.
I did not hear Gundy's statements. What did he say?
He basically said that he's only transferring because he lost his starting job, and I find it hard.
He shouldn't be saying that. He shouldn't be saying that. Even if it's true, he shouldn't be saying that.
Well, first of all, the guy started 13 games and only gave up 1 sack. So,
yeah.
And then, I read somewhere, is this true that Gundy has had, and I used to be a Gundy fan, but is it true that Gundy had 10 starters transfer out, 10 starters. So it sounds like there's trouble in River City there. Maybe it's Gundy.
Well, it could be. There's lots of reasons for players to transfer, but I got to tell you, in this new world of NIL and transfer portal, the coaches that were successful before this new world may not be as successful in this new world, because you can't say things like what Gundy just said, what you purported him to say, because there are other players on that roster who are still going to be good friends with this guy who just transferred, right? You can't.
If you notice, Kalani Sitake, whenever a player leaves, he is classy.
Yes.
He sincerely wishes him well. He even helps him find another spot.
Most coaches or good coaches should, and they do that. Fleck does that all the time. You can't rip on a guy for leaving your program. That leaves a bad taste in the mouths of other guys on your team that are still trying to play for you. You can't do that. But go ahead. Thanks for letting me know.
And I know in the day of NIL, teams lose players all the time, but most P5 programs don't lose starters. He lost 10 starters, guys that are starting, which I think is a...
Well, my Gophers have lost a whole bunch of starters. But go ahead. I don't want to talk about it. Go ahead.
So I was wondering, what do you know about him as a player? Do you think it was a good pickup for BYU? They're saying he's going to come right in and start at right tackle, and that way they're All-American. For the kid from Oregon that they think is going to be an All-American can play the other tackle spot. What do you think?
I don't know enough about. I read the story. I definitely don't know enough about BYU's O-line. But yeah, he is a starter, so. It's probably another great pickup for BYU.
He's a typical BYU line. When you think BYU line, think Wisconsin a little bit.
Yeah.
Big.
Yeah.
And usually good. The question, and then the other question I had for you. One thing I've learned in this whole realignment scenario is leadership. Capitalize this. Leadership matters. Brett Yeltman's able to create a vision and get people to follow it. The Pac-12 commissioner is not. So leadership really matters. He's aggressive. He's not the kind of guy that's going to sit around and let these guys use him as leverage. I think at some point he's going to create some pressure points and tell them they either have to get out of the middle of the road and either fish or cut bait. And the question I have for you is, do you think the Big 12 commissioner's strategy is he knows he's got a rotten deal, he knows it's not going to get better. Personally, I think it may even be worse than some people are reporting. He knows it's not going to get better, so he's trying to string people along. Quite frankly, he's been a little less than honest with the president. Do you think he's trying to, in my opinion, I don't have any evidence of it, just from reading the tea leaves, do you think he's trying to stretch people along to where their options are so limited that they have to stay?
No, I don't think anything that George Kliavkoff is doing is nefarious or unethical. I think he's just scrambling. I think he's constantly scrambling to try to get a deal done. I don't think there's anything. I don't think he's stringing anybody along. He has made some statements that are completely untrue in the past. He went way over his skis when he said that UCLA was going to lose. Was going to lose money when they joined the Big Ten. But I don't think anything that he's doing is nefarious, or I just think he's scrambling to try to get a deal in front of those Pac-12 presidents as soon as possible, and he is working with some streaming companies. So that's my opinion.
Here's one thing I respectfully disagree with you on. Remember you said the deal's not going to get better, but you don't think there's any chance of it getting any worse?
Arizona State Perch doesn't think things can get any worse. Yep.
I actually think it can get worse, and especially for schools like Arizona and Arizona State. And let me tell you why I think that. You remember Bob Thompson said any deal that's offered is offered for right at that moment. It's not a standing offer. So in other words, if things change, let's say, for instance, one of the people drop out and just decide this is too much, we're tired of dealing with this, there's been the economic downturn continues, we go into a full-blown recession, or just circumstances, let's say one of the streaming services drops out. So now you have less competition, so you have less leverage. It's very likely someone like ESPN or one of the streaming services can come back and say, hey, circumstances have changed. Our offer is now $5 or $10 million lower than what it was before. That was a month ago. This is $30 later. We were competing with these other two people before. Now it's just us. We're not going to compete against ourselves. So here's our offer now. It's now $10 a school less, million less a year. So I do think it could be less. Also, it could get bad. Really, Arizona, schools like Arizona State, CU could lose leverage if by some small chance if Oregon or Washington were to jump before they cut their deal, now their leverage goes right out the window because they're very desperate schools. And people need to remember, it's in the back of their mind that even if they sign a deal, let's say they sign a deal and stay in the Pac-12, the Arizona Perch said in his other letter, they know Cal was already trying to get in the Big Ten. They know Washington and Oregon wants in the Big Ten. So anytime in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, they have the money to pay the buyout. They're not going to sign a big buyout. If they sign anything, it's not going to be with the big buyout, schools like Washington and Oregon. So they jump, and then schools like Arizona State have absolutely no leverage, and Brett can get them at a huge discount. So I think the odds are that they're going to jump now, and I think they've been working on parallel tracks. I think that Arizona, Colorado, and these schools probably have almost everything already worked out with the Big 12 except signing the contract. They probably already have most of the details worked out to where if they do decide, if they do get the institutional support, if the PAC deal isn't what they want it to be, I don't think it's going to be a long, drawn-out negotiation. I think they already know what the deal is going to be, and they'll pretty much sign it and vote on it. What do you think?
I don't think I have to go with what I don't think any deal's done right now. I don't think anything's a done deal right now.
Oh, I don't think it's a done deal in the sense, I don't think they've agreed to it,
okay.
But I think they know the parameters of what the deal is already. I don't think it's going to be a big surprise as to what they're going to get if they go. I think they've worked out some basic parameters.
Oh, yeah, they know. I'm sorry. I thought you meant, yes, they know. They definitely know they know the numbers. Are you talking about the Pac-12 schools going to the Big 12? They know the numbers.
Yeah, they know what the deal. They haven't signed a deal, or they haven't said yes, but they know what the deal would be.
Yes, yeah, they know that. Yep.
And so I don't think it would take long for them to agree to something and vote on it if they decided to go.
Yep.
What do you think? And then is the reason you can't share more from the letters because you have more information from him that you're not going to share now, but you might be able to share on another date?
There's a lot of different reasons why I can't share more information. I share information to you all as fast, as quick as possible, if it pushes the story, and if we feel real good about it. But there's some stuff that I will never be able to say. I mean, there are stories that we have broken that I can never talk about, stuff that I can never talk about. So I give you what I can.
The letter that you got recently, does that change your odds or percentage at all on your percentage of schools leaving, or is the meter about where it was before?
No, it's about where it was before. It just gives a more definite timeline that he believes.
I think Brett's not a really patient guy, and I think he would like to have these Pac-12 schools, but he don't need these Pac-12 schools. And I think he has some pressure points he can pull too. I don't think he's just going to sit and wait around forever.
I think there's other pressure points at work, and I don't think he needs to use his pressure points. I think Brett Yormark is willing to wait. So we just disagree on that, which is great. That's what we do here at Peek Around the Corner.
What do you think would happen if he said, and it might just be a bluff, but what if he said, I'm only taking 2 schools and you got 2 weeks to decide? Or
I just
something
don't
like
think
that?
he needs to, I don't think he's going to do that. I don't think he needs to do that. I don't think he wants to burn any relationships.
Gotcha, that's smart.
He's in a position of strength. He said leadership matters, so does relationships. So I don't think he's going to do it. He doesn't need to do that. If we're correct in if our information is, yeah, go ahead.
I want to let you know that my wife, Earl Entry, is here watching it with me. We're here in Mesquite, Nevada. She's not even normally a big college sports fan, but she is a BYU and LSU fan. She's from New Orleans. Yeah. But she loves your show. And you know why she loves your show? Because you generate more knowledge and information than you do heat, and your show is about sharing information. It's not about put downs. It's not about personal attacks. It's not about talk. And she loves your show, and she loves it. It's a family show. So I just want to let you know that she's watching, and she loves your show as well.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you.
We wish you well, and we'll listen to the rest of the show. And you and the little general have a blessed week.
Thank you. You too. You and your wife. Thank you so much.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Okay, first of all, thank you for those very kind words. Great phone call. I just have the phone off the hook here for a moment. I want to get to the statement by Chris Stapleton. So let me get this straight. The Arizona State Money Perch is a, quote, inside source, unquote, at Arizona State that shares his explosive information with an internet podcaster with 2,130 subscribers. First of all, I am absolutely incredibly humbled by any number of subscribers that subscribe to this show. 2,130? That's fantastic. And I want to thank each and every one of you for subscribing to this show. That is a wonderful number. I know that is considered a put down here in this comment, but that's an unbelievable number. And then when you think about, we've been a YouTube channel for 8 months, and there's so many great college football YouTube channels out there that have been doing this for 5 or 6 years. So, but the number itself, regardless of how long we've been on, we thank you so very much. All the support, the donations, the merch sales, keeps the lights on. The little general loves, she has loved creating this show. She knows I love doing it. So that's the first point of this comment. The 2.13K subscribers is not a put down. It's incredible. And I am so humbled, so very humbled, unbelievably humbled by you all. The other thing about this is the Arizona State Money Perch does not share his explosive information with me directly. He shares it with BTM and his associates, and they give it to me. So, Arizona State Money Perch has never said a word to me, and I've never said a word to that person. And yes, inside source, yeah. BTM and his associates, most of you are just only aware of the USC to call into the Big Ten. But we did an unbelievable story on PJ Fleck and Tracy Clays and Bob Motzkow and Don Lucia and Notre Dame joining the Big Ten in hockey. We were the ones that broke all those stories and others. The big one was the USC to Big Ten. And that wasn't done by me because I'm an absolute nobody, Chris Stapleton. It was a we. It was Big Ten, BTM and his associates, and those sources have grown, and Arizona State Money Perch has always been a part of the associates of BTM. But no, Money Perch doesn't talk to me. Nobody likes to talk with me, Chris. Nobody. Okay. Thank you so much for the phone call. Appreciate it. And thank you, Lewis, for saying this. Whatever we do at college football, peek around the corner, whatever you agree or disagree with us here, we put our name on it on this show. We don't have a pretend persona. Our name is out there. Okay? Thank you for saying that, Lewis. All right, here we go. Phone lines, let's get them open because I know we got a lot more phone calls. People want to call in. Give me your opinions, your comments. We have a lot of diversity here at College Football's Peek Around the Corner. Thank you, Motivision. Appreciate it.
Call from
PSU Nitwit.
PSU Nitwit. The floor is yours. Thanks for calling, good sir.
Hey, Greg. Haters are going to hate, brother.
Yeah.
Love your show.
Thank you, sir.
Anyhow, I had a great time Blue White weekend. My cousin Tyler Hallsworth is down in Penn State in the running back room. One of
Okay.
the Lawn Boys. He's keeping us informed of some great things happening down there.
Good. I watched some of the game. Drew Allen was a little bit inconsistent at the beginning of that game.
Yes, wasn't what we expected, but we do see some talent there and some more work. I think he's going to get better.
Yep.
So I wanted to get your thoughts on where are the key leaders at in the Pac-12? For example, Phil Knight. That's Oregon's baby. I've been out at Oregon. Oregon is his baby. I've been out at Oregon a lot. He's tied to Oregon. What is preventing Phil Knight going to ESPN and saying, hey, look, you don't do this deal. I'm going to buy Pluto TV or some type of streaming service, and we're going to turn that into the Nike Sports Network. And I don't think ESPN would want something like that. So I don't understand why people out there, the big dogs in the Pac-12, are not pushing the envelope a little further. I don't think ESPN wants to tick off Nike. I'm just throwing out there some scenarios because if things aren't resolved, now everybody's talking about the money, Greg, but not all this is going to be peaches and cream. Like I said, college football conferences, I mentioned in the comments, you lie down with fleas, you're going to get more fleas.
Yeah.
They're going to take more control. They're going to tell you who you can play and who you can't play. If they don't work out this whole thing with these, if the networks don't work this out, Greg, I'm a political science person by trade. The politicians are going to get involved. You already had the California governor walking around saying stuff. If the Pac-12 doesn't get a deal, you are going to open up a can of worms that you don't want to open up. So I'm going to hang up, listen to your comments.
No.
But like I said, Greg, those were just some things I wanted to share.
Got it. Thank you. Great call.
Thank you.
Thank you. I read the people are ripping on me in the chat room. Cooler's gonna cool because I talk highly of Drew Allen, and then he goes out in the spring game and he's a little not very accurate. I elevate. I'm the one who elevated the hype even greater in Arch Manning.
Call from
Western Civic for Mr.
to accept.
Western Civic, the floor is yours. Go ahead, sir.
Good to see you, Greg. Thanks for being there. Number one distraction in town, realignment. Look, my first take on your letter there,
Yeah.
and I don't know who that is. Money Perch suggests to me that's someone in the accounting office.
No,
But
not
who
in the
knows?
administration. let's just say they're in the booster family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what strikes me most, and let me just say, I think ASU is in the most, the biggest pickle of anyone in the pack. ASU is really getting the brunt of this like no one else. So I don't know. What strikes me about it more than anything is the lack of talk of expansion. So I wasn't really going to call, except for the last caller who said, where's the leadership in the pack? So I'm just sniffing, just smelling around. Where's the leadership in the pack? Well, Phil Knight's he's already done it. I think what Phil Knight, the leadership he's provided, this is a little bit conjecture at this point, but we have really good information that Oregon and Washington are in. So there's your leadership, and it's almost impossible to imagine Oregon and Washington going without Stanford and Cal, unless, and here's one that's far out, unless, you ready for this, one or both of those actually drop football. Now that's a crazy thought, but that would be the only way I could see that happening. So anyway, there you go. And ASU, I had a list of other topics I left in another comment. I don't know if you read all the comments in your last video, but if any of those are of interest, I'm happy to go off on what I know and what I think.
Go off right now. This is why I love your calls. Go off.
Okay. Well, here's some topics that are sort of unrelated. Well, just to finish that thought,
yeah.
If that's true that Oregon has already provided the leadership, and I think they have, then and if there's no talk of expansion going on, the GPAC from your people, and just the lack of any sort of serious proposals from the major networks, it just makes it feel like the PAC media deal is in a drawer over at the Big. And let me ask you, Mr. Flugar, did you go back and watch the very scripted question and answers thing after Commissioner Warren, his speech that he gave at Big Ten Media Days last year? Did you watch that?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. So you see how he outlines, and actually if you really pay close attention, this is where ASU is really screwed, because Warren lists his bona fides. Like he grew up as an ASU fan, or his dad went there or something. Yeah. And he lists all his ASU bona fides and then goes, but academics are what's important, blah, blah, blah. So if you're smart, you sort of saw he sort of was apologizing, but I'm sorry, ASU's out. But he didn't say that about anyone else. And he specifically said there would be a footprint in the Mountain Time Zone.
He didn't say. I don't think he said footprint. I think he said it will cover all the time zones. I don't.
Well, go back. He actually says it twice. Okay. If you go back and look through it, he says Eastern, Central, Mountain, and Pacific, and he says it twice. And now you look into it, but anyway,
I will.
So if there's quiet, and especially if there's talk of movement between Arizona and Colorado, both AAU schools, and by the way, if Arizona pulls this off, what a coup, because they've never done jack in football. They rode ASU's coattails into the pack back in 1970. And here's an anecdote. There's something that my Utes and ASU have in common that really, aside from the fact that ASU is not an AAU school and Utah is, but both of them, Utah did it in winning the Sugar Bowl, was the only undefeated team in the country that didn't get a full share of the national title and was ultimately given a portion of it. And ASU did the same thing when they were in the WAC. They ended up being the only undefeated team. I believe it was 1976, and they beat Nebraska or something in a bowl game. In any event, and immediately right afterwards, both schools earned an invitation into the pack. So Utah has some really interesting common history with Arizona State. Mm-hmm. And in fact, that goes back to to the WAC days. And here's something else I want to talk to you Minnesotans and you Big Tens and you ACCs and you people east of the Rockies that don't have any room to move around. There is so much space out here. You know, people forget. I mean, any team that's anybody in the West today is going to be a monster in the future because there's just so much space. You know, you guys talk about the Shenandoah Valley. That's like one, it's like one little valley out here in the West. There is so much space and so many new schools come along. And then
if you're going to grow, though, you're going to need the water from Minnesota. So keep that.
That's for sure.
Keep that in mind.
Oregon has a good share. We might be able to. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
I don't want to waste. I think I should move on, but there's a lot. Someday we'll talk about the imperative need for annual playoff flexibility. And then I could talk to you about the Mountain 10 Conference, which was something that actually we got as far as all the way up to Mr. Eccles. And this is when I first learned about Utah's ambitions of joining the Pac. And actually, we had discussions about the Mountain 10 Conference right up to like 2 days before the Sugar Bowl when we beat Alabama. And so anyway, that's another idea that could come back. Two of the schools that were in that, though, are now in the Big Ten. That would be BYU and TCU.
Okay.
But I would say, you know what? I don't know what the networks have in mind. My guess is this is already done, and I think the expansion's coming this summer, and I think that, you know, the Big broke the Pac, and they own it, and they're gonna take 6 of their. I think it's coming sooner than later, but maybe not.
Okay.
And if not, they've got to expand, and I'm not hearing any discussion.
Yeah.
And who would be interested in expansion more than anyone else? ASU. And if he's not talking about that at all in his letter, and the time won't help. If time won't help, you need time to do things like, you know, and the politicians are going to be in this already. Kansas, that's how Kansas gets out of the Big 12 to come to the GPAC 16. That's how the ACC is going to break. It can be any given state legislature can break any one of these contracts. So the previous caller I found to be extremely astute, and that's why I called. And anyway, I can talk forever. I'll call another time.
Got it. Call again.
I'll tell you another thing. One more thing. Whoever your guy is, I could have called into a million different shows. I chose to call into Mr. Flugar. There's just there's a vibe over here, man.
There
I
is.
haven't called into anybody else's show, and I don't think I will. So with that, have a happy Tuesday.
Thank you, sir. Great call. There's a vibe, baby. There's a vibe. No question, there is a vibe. Thanks for the great call, Western Civic. Opie, I'm just getting here, so I have no idea what is really going on. Opie, I've been here all night, and I don't know what's going on. But I saw the comment on the 2,130 subs.
Call from.
Wow, dude.
Wow, dude, can you just hold on for just 1 second, sir?
Sure.
Thank you. Opie, I'm just getting here. I have no idea what's really going on, but I saw the comment on the 2,130 subs. You got to that number pretty dang quick. So here's to the next 2,130 subs, sir, and I will have to watch later. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much, Opie, again for your continuous, incredible generosity to the show, helping us keep the lights on here at Peek Around the Corner. Thank you so much, Opie. Yeah, you know, the 2,130 subs, I am very humbled for each and every one of them. That was meant to be a shot from from the other person in the chat, but I don't think that's a shot at all. So thank you, Opie. Appreciate it. Wow, dude, I apologize. The floor is yours, good sir. Mr. Utah man himself has the floor.
Greg, you've got the best show on YouTube, I've got to say. Seriously. And it gets better and better with guys like Western Civic calling in.
Yes.
I mean, it's highly entertaining.
I love all you guys calling. You guys are the ones who make the show, so.
Seriously, well done on everything on your end.
Yeah.
But, you know, I heard something earlier in the live show that got me a little upset, and it's the lack of respect for the Utah Utes this football season. I can't believe the lack of respect and the respect that you're putting on Washington for someone to say USC is going to win the Pac-12. And I've heard Skoducky saying Oregon's going to win the Pac-12.
That's
Seriously,
right.
Do people forget that we are the back-to-back champions, that we return?
I do often say two-time defending, reigning, undisputed Pac-12 champions, Utah. But you're right. I did not mention them here. You're correct. You're correct. I'm guilty. I apologize. However, Greg DeCooler, the one thing I got right last year is I predicted Utah to win the Pac-12 championship, and they did. So Utah is the one thing I got right last year. So I do show some respect, but you're right. I should have mentioned them tonight. I apologize. Go ahead. Continue on.
You show some respect, but I'm shocked that the Utes are getting slept on like they are.
Yeah, they should not be getting slept on. No question about it.
With Cam Rising coming back, the defense is absolutely loaded.
Yeah.
I mean, this team is going to be very good, better than last year, and a dark horse for the CFP. I think so. I think that Utah always plays better under the radar. No one's talking about them this year. They're not going to be in the top 10 preseason. Seriously, look at that. Look at that this year. It could happen. I mean, I'm super biased. I think everyone would realize that.
Aren't we all? Yeah.
We all are. I've got to tell you this, though. I actually bought 3 tickets in Vegas for Cameron Rising to win the Heisman. So I'm pretty optimistic about this season.
What odds you got? Wait, let me guess. Cameron Rising won the Heisman. He's a quarterback. Plus 150?
It was even better than that. Upon recollection, it was about around 200, I thought.
Ooh, okay. Okay. That's
there wasn't
good.
Big money on it, but there's money on it.
That's good. Yep.
Anyway, just wanted to call in just to represent the Utes here and just put some respect on the name.
Yeah.
Because I really do think they're going to repeat. I think they're going to get to the college football playoff and think they're going to make some noise this year.
Three-peat.
That would be nice.
Three-peat. Yeah.
And it's going to be nice just to play football and get away from this realignment stuff because personally I feel a little burned out.
Yep, no question.
Chatter and everything. So
yep.
Football is here. Spring games this Saturday for the Utes, and go Utes.
Got it. Thanks. Great call.
Take care.
Appreciate it. All right. The number is 763-260-1333. Of all the calls, I've been writing some notes. A lot of action tonight. Haven't been able to get to it. I do want to, there was a call there talking about Oregon's leadership, what's going on with Phil Knight and everything. I've laid this out there before. We've done a hint, wink on this. I'm going to do it again right now. Oregon, they're still working it, right? They're still working it. They're taking swings. We're talking about that Big Ten expansion door being cracked open. Oregon has a friend in Fox Sports. So keep that in mind. Just keep that percolating in the back of your head. I know a lot of people say, well, Oregon's not a big enough research university. Oregon doesn't really have a fan base as large as people think. Oregon this, Oregon that, back and forth. Just got to say that Oregon has a friend in Fox, and we'll leave it at that. We've hinted that before. We're going to continue to do so. And we'll leave it at that. Okay. Three-peat, yes, absolutely. Immaculate, one packed school paired with Notre Dame. When that happens, that will crack the ACC and then leaves 2 more spots for the packed schools to join the Big Ten for the 5-team Western Division. Easy. I wouldn't go that far. Phil Knight to buy Fox Sports. One other thing, Flugar, you're going to have to start selling memberships. I don't want to do that. I will evaluate every year, but I just don't want to do that because I don't see how that would work for what I'm trying to do on this show. I don't know. I wouldn't even know how to even do that. I'm pretty sure we're never going to do that. Look.
Call from
Immaculate.
The floor is yours. Thanks for calling, Brian.
I just got here and saw that everyone was in a tizzy, so I thought I'd throw something out there. But
yeah,
you don't think that's possible, huh?
What's possible?
The Oregon and Notre Dame combination for their next two. Keep in mind, it's about two sums anymore, so it's about a value of a total of two pairings.
Yeah, no, I think
Washington.
I think it's possible. Yes, I think it's possible. I wouldn't call it the favorite.
How do you get? What's that?
I wouldn't call it the favorite. I wouldn't call it the chalk. I would say it's possible. I just, when the story is written on this time period, you know, or I've always, Peek Around the Corner has always probably consistently given Oregon a higher value when it comes to realignment than anybody else, just because we believe certain information, and plus I believe they have a really good, valuable brand. But besides all that, there are people that go to bat for Oregon. Now nothing's happened yet. It may not happen, but Oregon has more people backing them in positions of leadership outside of Oregon than I think the normal, regular college football fan would realize. I'll just put it that way.
Correct. And when people point to things like their research numbers and stuff like this, under normal old realignment situations, I'd say yes, that keeps Oregon out of the Big Ten.
Yeah, and it still is important. It's just there's always more to the story. There's just not one thing that directs all this. But go ahead.
Yeah, it's not everything though anymore. It used to be you were looking at teams and saying, okay, where do they get us? They might get you a $2 million to $5 million bump. So you had to go, brands, and you also had to talk your academia into it, and they had to not absolutely hate the president for it because you weren't gaining that much for it. Those days are over, though. These are much bigger numbers they're looking at in the future. Academia doesn't have as big of a say in it. They can get a couple words in there. They can get a school that makes them happy. But when you look at bringing in Notre Dame, the amount of money that's going to come in there will be huge. So you pair them with something that doesn't have to be the main sell of the duo. Like if you bring Washington in with Notre Dame, you're kind of wasting that because Washington is what brings in somebody else, just like Notre Dame is. And Notre Dame is the only school that can leave the ACC anytime they want. Their cost is half or less than what it is for everyone else. So for people who wonder who's going to be the first one out of the ACC, at this point in time, you got to say it's an easy call. It's Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Florida State and Clemson can't make the first move. They can fight this for a while, but that's, like they were saying, that's like a 5-year fight unless Notre Dame pulls it first. Now, I know people think that that's never going to happen, but you got to understand, NBC is not going to sign with Notre Dame again. So what are they going to do? Like you might know more about that than I do, but they have to do something. In 2 years, they're done with NBC as it stands, and they're not going to sign a single school and just grab the Big Ten. Like, it's
it's just not worth it. Like, just dollars and cents wise, it's not worth the NBC to pull them, because a lot of Notre Dame's games or home games, I mean, they're not going to pick that over a Big Ten game.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty set in stone that eventually Notre Dame's going to lose. I mean, they wouldn't even pay a $2 million payout to get a coach out of a buyout, and they just went with a guy who was on their staff already. I mean, they're clearly gathering up cash, in my opinion. So I look at it and say Notre Dame is pretty much a shoo-in, and so you can attach any school in that you want to get in, and it doesn't become the main story. So that's why I look at like an Oregon, or the crazy pick is Colorado. But that might be a little too crazy to really call in. But yeah, that's what I think, because you got to take it in twos. So one Pac school and Notre Dame. That's my pick. We'll see.
Okay. All righty.
Probably a little crazy. But anyway, I was just saying, because he said no way. I'm like, oh, well, we'll see. But I see everyone still thinks it's kind of crazy. But Michigan doesn't have all the things in the Big Ten. But anyways, you have a good night.
Thanks.
Looking forward to seeing what Arizona State does here very soon.
Yeah,
here in
appreciate it. Great call. Thank you. Thank you so much for the call. Back to, I see there's a big conversation about memberships. Here's the thing with memberships. I understand why other content creators do memberships. I get it. I understand it. The thing is I don't think it would ever work for what I do here on this show. These YouTube channels, these college football YouTube channels, are all different, and they're great variety of how they do it, information. A lot of these college football YouTube channels are sensational. They do a great job. They have panels. They ask questions. The great interviews, information. I don't have that skill set. That's not me. This YouTube channel isn't for everybody. So, and that's my loss. That's not your loss. There's so many great YouTube channels out there. There is no way that I can do YouTube memberships, because part of what we do is, and you can just do with this information as you want, but we have built relationships throughout the years. This is not just us starting. We started this YouTube channel 8 months ago, and that's not a long time when it comes to YouTube channels. But we have built relationships years and years before before August 7th of 2022. We have provided stories on Minnesota 247 and people who know us on Twitter. And when we get some information that we want to deliver, I'm going to deliver it to you as fast as possible. And it could be little, it could be big, and anywhere in between. And how can I do that? Remember, what kind of extra benefit can I give a person with a membership? I don't, it's not going to work for the show. And quite honestly, I don't have the time or the whatever to stratify my content. Other people can do it, and it works. And people enjoy being members of YouTube channels, and it works. It works for other YouTube channels. It's not going to work here at Peek Around the Corner. It doesn't fit my vision, nor does it fit. It just doesn't fit. So yeah, we're not going to do that, but I completely understand why other people do it. And I completely understand why other people have guests on. And I get it. I just don't have that skill set. I like to present a show that you know what's going to happen every single time you come on here. It's going to be about college football. We're going to do a monologue. We're going to get to your comments as soon as possible. Then the phone calls will dominate most of the second part of the show. I want to hear from you, the college football fanatic, the passion. The same stuff over and over, and over, not the same information, but the same, so you know you have a certain expectation. I wear this. I have the same brand over and over and over again. This is who we are, and we're not for everybody. We're just not. And I know there are things out there. People keep commenting, Greg, you should do this and that and shorts, and you should go on other channels, and you should. First of all, I don't got the time. Second of all, I'm not good at marketing myself, and that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. I have done, since that Los Angeles Times interview with Brady McCullough, I was interviewed 4 times for a column. I have done 0 interviews. 0. Not a one. Other people would have ran out and done 50 of them. Probably would have been great for the YouTube channel. I just said, nah. I'm comfortable with just being who we are with this channel. And, you know, the growth of this channel is already way beyond any projections. For an independent YouTube channel with no radio connection, no anything connection, no strings attached, for us to grow this fast. And I know a lot of it is because of your guys' the PATC community in the entertainment that you all provide constantly, day in, day out, show after show after show, and it's building on itself. It's just a snowball, and it's because of you. So memberships isn't going to work here. A lot of things are not going to work here on this YouTube channel, but it's going to work in other places, and it is working at other places. And there are YouTube channel, there are people out there who have such a big, wide skill set of what they do with the YouTube channel. They do all the graphics, they do all the editing. They're great at asking questions. That just isn't gonna happen here at Peek Around the Corner. Okay. Yeah, I do sing. There's no question. Maybe that's the one thing we do here at Peek Around the Corner. We sing a little bit here. All right. Honestly, Greg, the fact that you aren't over monetized makes your presentation feel more credible to me. Thank you, Immaculate. We did open up a merch store because you guys wanted a mug, so we opened it up. So that's why we did that. And we're going to be putting out some funny t-shirts here in a little bit. Lewis, thank you so much for your super chat. I appreciate your generosity. Arizona State, Colorado Hearts don't seem to be in the Big 12. Greg, do a live show at least 3 times a week at a set time so we know. I think this show would really take off. We're doing about three live shows a week, but I can't do a set time. Can't do it. First of all, what I do in the home front, I'm not allowed to set a set time, right? I take care of my 92-year-old father, my 90-year-old mother. Set times isn't going to happen. My life is family first. And also, when there's breaking news and I have that pathway to come on here in front of the mic, we're coming on here. If I've got some information, we're coming on here as fast as possible. So again, set times. Will it help the show really take off? Probably, but I can't do it. But again, the show is kind of, because of you all, the show is already kind of taken off. Gray can't have members. She's Cloak and Dagger's secret agent. Yeah. Greg ain't got no time to bleed, just like another Minnesotan. Keeping it grassroots, Greg. Appreciate it. Secret agent, I predict greater growth going forward just by doing what you're doing. Thank you. Appreciate it. I can't put up some of these comments. Greg is the Sinatra of Lake Superior. Wow. Stephen McNeely, Greg, where do I go buy your merch? There is a link in the description box. Also, right here is the peek around the corner. There's a website, but there's a link in the description box. So go to cfbpatc.com. There it is. Some sweatshirts, a mug, a hat. But we're going to be putting on putting in there some t-shirts here pretty soon. So there's a couple different ways to support our channel. Donations through our live shows, going to our merch store, buying the Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters coffee, and putting PATC in the comments. So there are ways if people want to contribute to our show, they keep us put the lights on, help us keep the lights on. There are ways to do it. But memberships for this show just isn't going to quite work. Adam Vulture. Oops, I almost tipped over some. Adam Vulture, thank you so much for your generosity. No smoke on memberships. Adam is saying no. No. Well, I don't think you have to worry. We just can't do it here. I mean, how would I even... Can't do it. We've already talked enough about it. Greg will be busy in 3 weeks. But thank you so much, Adam. I appreciate your generosity. Thank you so very much for that very generous donation. Wow. Praise the Lord, Greg. Praise you, Mr. Green. Praise the Lord. Absolutely. I don't know about that. I'm not a part of any grand conspiracy. AAR, Greg, as college football change agent. I am not a part of any conspiracy, not Endeavors or anybody else. If anything, ladies and gentlemen, I am not well liked by the establishment. We are the rebel outposts of college football YouTube channels. Don't have any friends. We're completely independent, no strings attached. The Big Ten got mad at us. They know who we are. People found out we had that FSU information on December 26th. We're just not all that well liked. So that's another problem we have here at Peek Around the Corner. Vernon Sheldon Witter. Colorado and Arizona want in the Big 12. I work for Colorado, and this is all that is being talked about. Arizona State is marginal. People who say they do not know zip. Thank you, Vernon, for your donation. I appreciate it. Thank you for your generosity. Thanks for coming on in. Colorado and Arizona want in, and he works for Colorado. This is all that's being talked about. Tony, PATC, talking college football with a world-class crooner. I don't know what I'm going to do about singing. I sang Country Roads for Chris Petrie's tribute on this channel, and I got dinged with a copyright. Not with a copyright strike, but yeah, kind of like a copyright strike. It was I got dinged for it. Had to give up the revenue for the show, which was like $2, which was not a problem. But what happens if I sing another song and I actually sing a couple notes correctly? Am I going to get dinged again? I didn't think I would get dinged. I wasn't playing the music. It was a cappella. No music, nothing in the background. It was a copyright claim. But am I just going to keep getting copyright claims on me if I sing a couple notes correctly? So, does that mean I can't sing any more fight songs? Because during the last year, if your team won, if you donated to the channel, if your team was an underdog and they won, I would sing your fight song. I don't know can I do that anymore? Lewis, gotta butcher it like Edith Bunker. I thought I naturally did butcher it. I thought I had that natural ability to butcher it just enough to where I wouldn't get a copyright strike. Mo Envision, Greg is a loner like Bill Bixby in The Incredible Hulk. Cue sad piano music as Greg hitchhikes to the next town. Thank you so much, Mo Envision, for your generosity, for your friendship. I appreciate it, good sir. Oh, one other thing. I know we talk college football 99.999% of the time. But that 0.0000001% of the time, we talk about UAPs and UFOs. There is an open public meeting tomorrow, April 19th, like 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, depending on what time zone you're in. The Senate hearing where Fitzgerald, the leader of AARO, the agency that is supposed to explain, to investigate UAPs, things in the sky that we don't know, we can't figure out what they are, unidentifiable flying objects. There's going to be an open meeting, public TV. It's going to be on TV tomorrow morning. Keep your head on a swivel. Keep your head on a swivel. I'm telling you, Greg's interested in aliens so he can hitch a ride home. The truth is out there. I don't know what that truth is. But there's a meeting tomorrow. If you're interested in the subject, tomorrow could be a big day. Are they going to be talking about, are they going to be unveiling that in the past there was crash retrieval programs? Alien crash retrieval programs? Are they going to be talking about that tomorrow morning? We shall see. All right. We're going to get off crazy. Okay. Flugar, come on. I don't think so. Jesse says, I believe in them, Greg. I don't know what to believe. But I do believe there are things out there that we have picked up data from satellites, from sensors, from pilots, from aircrafts. We have picked up things in the air, in space, and in the waters, things that we have no idea what they are because of the way they move, the speed, the trajectory. Interesting times ahead. It's an interesting time to be alive. Intergalactic expansion for the Big Ten. Tumasta. Bob Lazar is too out there for me to believe. Yeah, I think so too. I agree with you, Tumasta. Unless tomorrow someone they unveil a program in the past about working on some materials that do not seem to be created by humankind. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Monovision. College football expansion is just swamp gas reflecting light from Venus. Interesting. Interesting. You guys are killing me. You guys are killing me. Gary, you can talk about UFOs, but if you start getting college football information from aliens, we got a problem. We can't even really talk about that. We have to talk about college football. YouTube, they only want you to talk about the subject that you're penciled in on. So that's we talk college football 99.999% of the time. We got off a little bit there because of tomorrow's open meetings. However, I think we're going to close it up. We've been on the air for 2 hours and about 15 minutes. We popped up out of nowhere. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel because we can pop up at any time. Anytime there's breaking news or information we have, we're going to be popping up. So you got to be subscribed and follow us at Flug Empire on Twitter because we can give you a heads up from time to time on Twitter. Thank you for all. Lots of smashing of the like button. Share the video with your family and friends. Thank you so much for all the donations to this show to help us keep the lights on here. Thank you so much for all your kind words tonight. I appreciate it. It's been fantastic. And again, here we are. The saga, Pac-12 saga continues. We're headed into more spring football games. This Saturday, Colorado Buffaloes, a lot of them, including my beloved Minnesota Golden Gophers. Hope and pray there's no injuries because we're already thin enough. So until next time, from all of us at PATC, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.